Welcome to the Superpower Projects video. Now that your students have created their superpower equations, it's time to put those equations into action through Superpower Projects. Heads up, y'all, there is a lot of important information packed into this segment. Superpower Projects provide a unique project-based learning opportunity and build a wide range of skills. You'll walk out of this unit amazed at what your students can accomplish when they put their minds to it. Please bear in mind that implementing Superpower Projects will take a new level of flexibility and guidance on your part. You'll have to navigate the unique needs of the various projects that your students undertake. For 2nd through 5th grade, you'll see that the curriculum provides a guide for implementing Superpower Projects without providing too many specifics about how one project might differ from another. Rather than telling your students what to do at this point in the curriculum, the lessons focus on building the leadership skills that enable your students to put a project together to the best of their individual abilities. You will also need to take some time before you start this unit to consider how to implement Superpower Projects in your classroom. In order to give you and your students time to achieve success with the Superpower Projects unit, we suggest you spend 3 weeks of 30-minute classes for kindergarten and 1st grade classrooms, and 4 weeks for 2nd through 5th grade classrooms. You can find a guide for those weeks at the beginning of the Superpower Projects unit. Next, you will need to consider if you will be implementing individual, small group, or whole group projects. For kindergarten and 1st grade students, we have identified whole group projects, an arts and crafts kit, and a talent show. These projects were chosen so that students can use either their unique talent or heart, even if they are not implementing their full equations. For 2nd through 5th grade students, the curriculum is written for students to complete individual projects based on their unique superpower equations. However, should you find it difficult to implement this many projects simultaneously, you may choose to implement small group or whole group projects. Should you choose to implement group projects, we strongly encourage you to build a piece of each student's superpower equation, heart, or talent into the group project. This helps to validate each student's contribution and build their confidence. Once you've determined how you'll implement Superpower Projects, it's time to dive into teaching the unit. You'll notice several differences between this and the prior units. This unit consists of 8 lessons which must be taught in order, starting with introduction and ending with reflection. Following the structure with help from the pacing guide will ensure that your students' projects are successful. Hopefully, you implemented the unit-level service projects in the previous units, as you will notice that many of these lessons include the topics covered and questions asked during those lessons. That means your students have practiced all these skills before. They've already taken the time to consider the steps to success, the supplies they will need, who the project is specifically for, what the impact will be, and how they will deliver past projects. They've used the service project planning sheet, which is very similar to the Superpower project planning sheet. Now they get to apply what they've learned throughout the year to their Superpower project. Always remember to continue the routine for your students, beginning class by reciting the GGC pledge, selecting or checking in on the Ignite Good mission, and reviewing the Superpower equation. The start of this unit is a great opportunity to engage students in discussing service projects that they've already completed. Whether in our curriculum, at school, or in the community, many students have participated in service projects before. Once they get to Superpower Projects, students should feel confident in understanding what a service project is and in their ability to see it through. As you read through the lessons, you'll notice that students in 2nd through 5th grade will naturally have different ways they need to prepare based on their individual Superpower projects. Let them do this with your guidance. Once students have planned their steps and identified their supplies, they have to work on putting their projects into action. For some students, this might look like researching on the computer, but for others, it might look like choreographing and rehearsing a dance. Working on their projects will look different for different students, and it will be up to you to help them manage their time so they can be successful. Before you get to this point, you might consider how to designate different spaces for different kinds of projects within your classroom. Heads up, multiple students working on their individual superpower projects simultaneously can get a little chaotic and even overwhelming at times. But seeing the ultimate impact on each student when they are able to see their unique project through to fruition is totally worth it, I promise. After the superpower projects are completed through proper planning and hard work, it's time to implement them. Depending on the project, this might take 2 hours like a bake sale, or 2 weeks like a coat drive. And you might need to space lessons out differently to accommodate these different types of projects. Once you've navigated the implementation of your superpower projects, you're ready for delivery. By the time you get to the delivery phase of the Global Game Changers curriculum, your students will put together their superpower equations and put those equations into action with a superpower project. The final step is to deliver the superpower project to the beneficiary or intended recipient. If you can do so, we strongly recommend that you provide students with the opportunity to deliver their final project in person directly to the person or organization that they chose to help. By now, you know that Global Game Changers ignite good, which means doing something nice without expecting anything in return. This means teaching students that delivery is not about getting accolades. It's about seeing a project through to its conclusion and to understand where it went. For instance, perhaps your students have previously participated in a canned food drive. If they have, it's likely the canned foods were there one day in a box at school and the box was gone the next. Students likely never saw who received the canned foods and who they benefited. Global Game Changers believes it's important to understand where they go and who receives them. You may also ask parents to help facilitate their students' delivery on their own time as a homework assignment. A sample letter to parents that you can fill in is provided as a resource in this unit. The letter offers a way to inform parents how their students have been working all year on discovering their unique superpower equation to ignite good, and finally on putting the equations into action through their superpower projects. Depending on the maturity and skill level of your students, they may be able to take on more responsibility throughout the process. While doing superpower projects, they should have identified where their project is going. Older students can be responsible for researching who to contact, call or email to schedule a delivery, or even request someone to come to your site to accept their projects. If appropriate, consider encouraging your students to package their deliveries attractively. Have them think about how they like to receive birthday or holiday presents. Do they enjoy seeing wrapping paper or bows to make it feel and look festive? Should they add a card that reminds everyone at their delivery site who brought this amazing gift? We've seen students create giant fake checks as a fun way to share their fundraising proceeds. Also, every student should put together a delivery speech. There's a fill-in-the-blank speech for younger students to use. Older students can have a fill-in-the-blank worksheet that they can use as a guide for creating their own speeches. If you have multiple students delivering projects to one location, it can be a great opportunity to foster teamwork. Give those students the opportunity to work together to decide on how to split their responsibilities. Once students have created their scripts, challenge students to work to improve their presentation skills. Memorize the script, look into the recipient's eyes, and smile. These simple tasks, which may not be so simple for your students, will not only make their delivery more impactful, but will also help them build their repertoire for interpersonal and leadership skills. Remember to also give students enough time to practice. Vary the practices with different people in your school, including other students, other educators, administrators, volunteers, or parents. This will help students become comfortable in front of different people, making it more like what they will encounter when they deliver their superpower projects. The more practice they have, the more confidence they will have when showtime comes. It always comes back to practice makes perfect. Giving students the opportunity to present a successful delivery is critical to the success of their superpower projects. Laying the foundation for a strong delivery helps to build student self-confidence in approaching new people, a skill that can translate to future success in everyday life. So it's important to put as much intentionality in delivery prep as you put into the project development. If you guide your students with thought and intention, delivery can be very impactful. It can build life skills and cement the lessons of Ignite Good that will carry on once they leave your classroom. It can also be a great opportunity to get your students into your community or your community into your classroom. We've heard of amazing years-long relationships that were created during project delivery. If you give your students the tools to interact with people outside of their bubble, they will walk out of school that much more confident in their approach to the world. Once Superpower projects are delivered, as with all the previous units, the final lesson is about spending some thoughtful time with your students to reflect on the impact they made and how they continue to make the world a better place using their superpower. Questions like, how did you ignite good? And how can you continue to put your superpower equations into action can open up that discussion. By the end of the Superpower Projects unit, you should have a class full of bona fide superheroes who are confident, empowered, and know they can make a difference in the world, because they already have. In implementing a superpower project, they can gain lifelong skills like organization, planning, and fulfilling responsibilities, as well as communication, engagement, and critical thinking. Done well, the Superpower Projects help students make giving back not just something they do, but also a part of who they are.